Hello, this is Allie with the Perception Trainers, author of The Perception Diet, and today we are going to talk about social anxiety. And quickly before we start, I just want to let you all know that I got a microphone. So there you go. Hopefully that makes things sound better for everyone out there who is like, we can't hear you, get a microphone. We got a microphone, so thank you, Marcus. All right, so let's move on to social anxiety. All right, so in this video, I am going to throw out a whole bunch of different things at you that can be the reason why, or a part of the reason why, you may suffer from social anxiety, because I definitely do not believe that there is a one cause, one cure kind of situation when it comes to things like social anxiety. We really want to look at this like something that is overarching and is a theme and has most likely several different roots tied up into it as to being why you feel how you feel in social situations. And I want to throw out a whole bunch of different sort of causes and root causes of why you may be suffering with social anxiety, because I really want you to explore inside yourself what might be going on for you, what might be pertinent and relevant for you, what isn't, and then to take those things that you have discovered that definitely this applies to me, definitely this applies to me, definitely this applies to me, and then to explore those concepts deeper within yourself, okay? So I want to tell you that I used to suffer from really, really, really horrible social anxiety, and still currently today, I definitely still have anxious tendencies within social situations. However, on this side of things, where I've sort of moved through some of the causes and worked through some of the whys behind my social anxiety, the whys behind why I feel how I feel now are a little bit different. And so what I really want to start with here is that I don't want you to think that the goal is to completely eradicate all social anxiety from your life, all right? There are going to be times and places where that social anxiety is a message for you that you are not meant to ignore or just try and push down or get away from, all right? And sometimes that social anxiety is correct, all right? So, and what I mean by correct is I have experienced many times in my adult life where I have had anxiety about a social situation before I went to it and thought to myself, I really don't want to go. I have this kind of anxiety about it, but I should, and it would be good for me, or whatever it is, that the reason I came up with that I should go. And I went, and it was terrible. It was just a waste of time, or just, it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. It was going to be a whole bunch of people sitting around not actually connecting, not really something that I'm super interested in doing. It was going to be something where it ended up not being what I thought it was going to be logically, but kind of deep down knew that it was going to be. And so what I'm saying is there are now times in my life where I experience like a twinge of anxiety when I think of doing something, and I will do a little process with myself to see, is that an intuition? Right? Is that a part of me saying, just don't go, it's not going to be what you think it is, it doesn't feel right? Or is it something I'm making up about myself or the situation that I need to push through, and it's actually going to be a good thing for me? So social anxiety in and of itself is not something we want to get rid of, right? Just like with all other negative emotions, just like with everything else that we talk about on this channel, everything is to be explored. Everything is there for a reason. It's letting us know something. So if we're approaching social anxiety with, I just want to get rid of it, right? We're going to get stuck because it's an aspect of yourself. It's a message. It's either something that's within you that needs healing and needs to come up to the surface, so that anxiety is simply leading you to an aspect that you need to look at. So you're not going to get rid of the anxiety, right? You're going to listen to the anxiety and you're going to go into it and you're going to find the aspect and you're going to do the healing work. Or it's your intuition, and you don't want to get rid of that either. So we're not going to get rid of social anxiety. Let's make room for social anxiety. Let's make room for anxiety in general and say, okay, this feeling has a purpose. It has a reason. It's not just happening to me. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with me. That doesn't mean that anxiety is wrong. It's a message. No matter what that message is, it's a message that I need. Otherwise, it wouldn't be occurring. So that's the first step. make room for the anxiety not to be wrong. It's not wrong. It's not something wrong with you. It's not something wrong with the situation. It's not a feeling you shouldn't feel. It's a message. Anxiety is a message. And around social situations, it's a message. All right? So next thing. Let's start to explore some of the things that may be the root of social anxiety. Now, the first one is something that may be a little bit controversial, and I just want you to explore it within yourself for a while, all right? So there's been, for a very, very long time in human psychology, this idea that we are socially dependent beings, that if we don't have social structures in our lives, and if we're not social, that this is causing us major needs not being met. You see what I'm saying here? That in order to be a healthy individual, we need to be social. And that when we don't have social connections, that this inhibits our life in some way. All right, so I think we can all agree that for sure, mentally, emotionally, we thrive off a certain level of stimulation from each other. That in relation, we learn a lot, and we grow a lot, and we expand a lot, and it's definitely a need of the human psyche to have connection with other people. Now, where it goes a little awry is where we start to equate social acceptance and being involved in social groups and being a part of the tribe with survival, right? So we can understand that as we were developing in the wild, when the brainstem was developing, we know that being a part of the tribe meant survival. And we know that as children, little babies, being a part of the tribe, having your caregivers love you and accept you meant survival. And to be kicked out, to be left alone, to be excluded, to be unloved, was to die, was to not get your needs met, and to physically pass away. And so we need to understand that part of what might be charging that social anxiety is this base root fear that if you're rejected, you're going to die. And this doesn't actually make a lot of sense in today's society, in our current culture, right? We know that right now, most people can figure out a way of surviving without people loving them. You see what I'm saying? We don't need to be a part of a tribe and a part of a group and a part of the culture in order to not die. We can survive. We may not have that intimate connection, that feeling of being, included, and all those loving social, mental, psychological aspects of social connection when we don't have people, but we're not going to die. Most of us are not going to die if our friends don't like us. Most of us are not going to die if our parents don't like us. We're adults now, and we are able to be more and more and more self-sufficient, especially in the technological world that we live in. So the first step, I believe, with social anxiety is just to address that part of yourself that maybe having that actual survival fight or flight response to social situations as though it's a life and death thing. Like if you go to your social situation and you're not liked and you feel that fight or flight or flee reaction rising in your body, that lets you know that that's your survival mechanism that's been activated. All right. And so that's like a very base primal fear that if I get rejected, I'm going to die. So if I go to this party and people don't like me, I'm going to die. That's really what's going on. So you need to love and honor and make space for that aspect of yourself that's legitimately reacting to this social situation like it's a life or death thing. And to make room for that and to love that part of yourself and to bring that awareness to that part and to love them and to really comfort and nurture and nourish and support that part of yourself, right? Look at that little child within you that's really looking out and saying, if they don't like me, I'm going to die. And comfort them, like literally envision yourself as this adult holding that small child or holding that teenage version of you or whoever it is that comes to mind when you go into your social anxiety, holding them and telling them, I promise you we're not going to die. It's okay if they don't like you. If they don't like you, you can still live. You're still going to live. You're still going to have food. You're still going to have shelter. This isn't a life or death situation. And that just in and of itself can help bring it down for you so much. If you just acknowledge that part of yourself that's going into that fight and flight situation and talk to them with that loving, open heart, that's a huge, huge, huge step forward, okay? Because most of us were like, shut it down. That's not right. It's fine. We're fine. Just don't act like this. No, no, no. And that just makes everything so much worse, right? That's a little scared child that's being told they shouldn't be scared, but they don't know why they shouldn't be scared because they're pretty sure they should be scared. You see what I'm saying here? So love that part that goes into fight or flight, because that's you're probably not going to get anywhere farther than that if you're in fear like that, okay? So love that part of yourself. Then start to explore your social anxiety from this love-based place, right? Once you've loved yourself enough that you don't feel like you're in that fight or flight anymore, that you still can feel the anxiety and you can still feel the nervousness and you can still feel like there's something you don't really want to do, or there's something you really hope happens, or there's stories going on, but you're not such in that fight or flight mode, right? You know what that feels like when you come down a level or two. Then you start to explore the social anxiety from that place, all right? And what I want you to look for. So number one, stories that you're telling yourself about how you're not worthy and how if people don't like you, that this makes you a bad person. This makes you a shitty person, that who you are is not fundamentally acceptable. And this may open a whole can of worms for you, right? With regards to your childhood and all these things that you've been through where you have been rejected and where people didn't like you and where you expressed yourself and got shut down and judged and criticized and bullied or left out. All of these things, right, are still a part of your vibration. They're still a part of your story that you tell yourself. And so when you start to enter into a social situation, that anxiety is letting you know that I don't feel like I'm safe to be myself. I don't feel like I'm safe to be authentic because when I've been authentic in the past, I've been hurt, I've been judged, I've been criticized, I've been rejected, I've been manipulated, I've been told that I'm wrong and bad and stupid and I'm not allowed to be the way that I am. And that's where we go and do the emotional mastery work, right? You will have to learn to love those parts of yourself that have been rejected by others. And that rejection did happen. So we're not saying it didn't happen. We're not saying pretend it didn't happen. We're not saying pretend it didn't hurt. Nothing like that, right? We start with acknowledging the part of you that is feeling really hurt and really betrayed and really confused and really like, why did that happen? Why couldn't I be myself? Why did people have to reject me? Why did love go away because I was just being who I was? And slowly but surely, right, you show up for that aspect of yourself with that loving, unconditional presence that you have now in your adult life, right? And you choose to say, I'm going to love you anyway. I'm going to accept you anyways. Even if these other people didn't, and that is true, that doesn't mean I have to reject me. That doesn't mean I have to not like me, all right? And then you might find that there are some social situations that you just don't put yourself in anymore, right? I don't go to the bar. I just don't put myself in that situation. And that's not because I'm prude or I think it's wrong that other people go to the bar or anything like that. That's just not the kind of social situation I want to have, okay? My specific personality and the way that I like to communicate and connect with people, it just doesn't really happen at the bar where everybody's drinking and just looking to get laid. And I'm not even saying that that's why everyone who's at the bar is at the bar. Of course, there are enlightened, amazing people at the bar. I just don't go to the bar, okay? That being said, there are other social situations that I have anxiety about, right? And I work through this story that I'm telling myself that people aren't going to like me and I've been rejected before, and if that happens, da-da-da-da-da, and then I say, okay, right? But I'm still going to go because there's something in me that still feels like this is a social situation for me. Like I went to the Woodstock Fruit Festival, for instance, a couple of years ago, and I had tons of anxiety about it, right? I was totally scared that because I didn't know anyone really, I was showing up kind of just knowing some people on the internet, and that was about it. And I was scared to be myself. That was really the honest truth. I was scared to be in this new situation, this new social situation where no one knew me, and it was an opportunity for me to show up and say, okay, I'm gonna just be my real self from the get-go. I'm not gonna have all this baggage where I'm pretending to be someone that I'm not, right? And and we're going to see what happens. And every other time I did that in social situations, I got rejected, but we'll see, right? But I showed up with the capacity to say, even if I get rejected, I'm still going to like me, right? That's the third thing. Even if I get rejected, I can still like me. So can you make some promises to yourself that even if in a social situation you get rejected, that you are still going to like you? That's the third major huge key. That if you can say, even if other people don't like me, I still like me, you're going to feel way, way safer in social situations. Because if you're fundamentally making it mean that if someone rejects me, I have to reject myself, social situations are always going to be anxiety inducing for you, right? Because you're never going to know if people are going to like you or if they're not going to like you. But if you can say, even if they don't like me, I can learn to like myself, you're going to feel so much better, all right? Fourth thing, really tune in and tap in to what it is you're picking up on when you're in a social situation, all right? So there are going to be times where you feel socially anxious because you're around people who feel anxious. You're around people who have shadow. You're around people who are not doing well. And sometimes our social anxiety is not even necessarily rooted in our own self-image and who we think we are, but we are picking up on all that's going on with everyone else. And we as light workers feel like it's our job to save people from themselves, to fix them, or to not make them look at everything, not make them look at anything, right? So sometimes, light workers especially, get socially anxious because when we get around people, we're picking up on more than meets the eye. We're picking up on all the things that are going on with people under the surface, and we're feeling responsible for it, right? We're feeling like we either need to help or like we need to do whatever we can to not be the person that brings it up, right? And so if you can start to allow yourself to take a step back in social situations and really ask yourself, what am I picking up on here? What's going on? Why do I not feel safe? What is it about these people that are making me not feel safe? What's going on in these people's hearts and minds and souls that I'm picking up on that makes me feel anxious in their presence? And then moving on from there, go through a process. All right, I'm not going to tell you what the right answer is with regards to, you know, if you pick up on like, I really don't like this person because they have so much negative energy and they really, right? And I know in my light mind that it's just their wounds and they're just hurting and struggling, but their energy is very dark and it's very heavy right now. And that's how it's expressing. And from there, do I want to continue to socialize with this person or with these people, or is it just too much for me, right? Is there really room for them to move and grow and change? Or is this just how it's going to be? And then you get to make a choice. If this is just how it's going to be, this is who they are, this is what they're experiencing right now, their energy is dark and heavy, do I want to hang out with it or not? And neither answer is right or wrong. So that's the other thing. You gotta give yourself permission to not socialize in situations that you just don't want to socialize in. And that's a huge, huge, big key that I really want to end here. It's not your job to be able to socialize with everyone and everybody at all times. You're going to go through phases in your life where you don't want to socialize with anybody. And that doesn't mean there's something wrong with you or that there's something wrong with the people. It just means you're in a phase where you're going in. And I think there's really too little emphasis placed on that in our culture right now, in that there is massive importance in times of solitude and in times of going in and in times of just being with yourself. And that might cause anxiety when you think about going into a social situation, because that's your emotional guidance system saying, we're not doing that right now. We're in a different phase. And then there are other times where these are just not the group of people that you want to socialize with, and you would rather be alone than be with them. And that's okay too. Okay? So you have to give yourself permission to say, this might just be something I don't want to do. And that's okay. And I don't have to. And then deal with the repercussions of that. So what are the rules you're making around being social? What are the rules you're making around if other people reject you, that you have to reject yourself? What are the rules you're making about social situations and survival? And can you love that stuff and do an investigation? All right? So like, share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Join me on Patreon, and I'll see you in the next video.